before we get into the content today, I've got a confession to make. This just isn't working. No, not the channel. That's not going anywhere. I love the channel. This isn't working. And kind of this isn't working. I want to make some changes to the channel, starting with this camera. Let's see if I can... There. Much better. A fresh coat of paint. Just what we needed. Now on to the content. This is pretty crazy, I have to say. Today we're checking out Samurai Slaughterhouse on the Quest 2, but that's not exactly why we're checking out the game. We're checking out the usage of what's called application space warp in this game. This is my first opportunity to actually check out the usage of application space warp and what it's going to do to make Quest 2 games even better, and it is pretty incredible. When it was announced, it was said that application space warp could bring around 70% more power to the Quest 2, which is just mind-blowing. And if that is the case, we could see some massive improvements on what games can do on the Quest platform. Well, I've been playing around with Samurai Slaughterhouse and the application space warp implementation in the game, and I have to say, I'm really impressed with how well it works. We're going to jump into some gameplay, and I'm going to show you the difference between having it on and off. Of course, the gameplay as well is pretty awesome in this game, but the whole goal of this video is to show you what's possible with this new 70% potential power increase. Is this going to revolutionize the way Quest 2 games are made? I don't know, but it works pretty well and it's pretty cool. So let's jump in and check out Samurai Slaughterhouse with application space warp. All right, here we are inside of the outdoor area. Just left the dojo there. It's running very smoothly right now. Application space warp is on. The more stuff going on in an area, the more it'll be utilized and the more frame drops you'll get if you don't have it on. Let me show you really quickly. First of all, let me show you this really cool way to get into the menu system. Hold on. I just love the art style of this game. The hands. I don't know why, but in this game, the body structure almost feels better than a lot of games that I play. Look, it actually feels like this is connected to my shoulder, which doesn't usually happen. The way the arm moves is great. Anyways, if you reach over your right-hand shoulder, you got this little dude here, and you throw him, and he's your little helper. And actually, if you look in the dojo, there's no shadows out here, but in the dojo there's shadows, and if you look, you can see him hanging over your shoulder. He's always there. So you can go into here, and this is where you save your game, check your quests, you can change your settings. What we're going to do is turn on frame counter. So right now we're running at 71 frames a second, or 70 frames a second for application space warp. Let's turn it off. You can see it's still there, but it immediately dropped down to 30 frames a second. Let's leave it off. Select our little dude here. Leave it off, and we're going to keep an eye on how this goes. Let's go ahead and go over here. Let's find some enemies. There's an enemy over there. I think I'd rather find some people enemies. You know, let's go to the bamboo forest area. That's probably the best place to test this. Alright, we are now in the bamboo maze, and as you can see, probably, and you can see the number too, 45 frames a second, 46. This is a lot more intensive than the plains area, so there's a lot more going on. Let me get out my sword really quickly. And then we'll fight some enemies like this, and then we'll switch it, and then we'll fight some more enemies. This is the more intensive area of this section. There's just a lot going on. Let's see if there's any enemies over here. Oh, right there. Okay. There, gotcha. This is the style of this game is excellent. I just love the the older samurai film style. Come at me, buddy. Come on. Come hit me. I want to try to block you. There we go. Let's see what we're at. 47 frames a second. Ooh. Jeez, I stabbed it right in the head. Let me just store this really quick. I'm going to turn on application space warp so you can see the difference. So we're at 44 frames a second here right now. 42. It keeps going up and down and up and down. Let's turn on, change settings, application space warp, close the menu. Now, we're going to hover right around 70. That is a big difference, and I can already tell playing it. I was starting to feel a little bit queasy playing it without space warp. Now with it, you can definitely see the difference. 72 frames a second. It's still not hitting that 72 all the time at the moment because it's a very intensive area, but it is getting much, much closer. 72 is the minimum frame rate for Quest 2 titles. Let's, what are you? Oh, you're the little creature thing. Let's get you. Ready? Gotcha. Ooh, you got red eyes, too. Creepy. Ooh. But yeah, we're hitting way better now. You can see the difference in the gameplay. One of the goals of this was to show you application Space Warp, and another goal, secretly, was to actually show you this game, because I think it's a great start to a game already. Where did that guy go? He must be around here somewhere. Come on. Ooh, coins. Good. Nice. Coinage. The art style in this game, though, is fantastic. I love the black and white almost. It's not quite black and white, but it's dark. I mean, it's just very colorless in comparison. There you are. In comparison to, like, the blood. Come on. You gonna hit me? There we go. Come on. Come and get me, buddy. Nice. There we go. I'll grab your sword there, buddy, if I can get it. There we go. There, I'll leave you alone. 70 frames a second. Ooh, nice big open area with some enemies. Cool. Slice and dice. Nice. Gotcha. This is like a... I should tell you what this game is, I suppose. That make more sense. This is like an action RPG type of game that is coming to the Quest 2. It's also coming to PC VR, and I believe PSVR. Maybe PSVR 2. I mean, that's what it was. Look at this. This is pretty cool. And he's working very hard, Justin, the developer, to get this on the Quest 2. That's where application Space Warp comes in. So what this is doing, let me try to explain it a little bit. I'm not technical, so I probably am not the right person to explain this. But what it does is essentially, it uses, is it AI? I don't think it's AI necessarily. It like interpolates the frames between two other frames. So for instance, we saw that it was rendering at, what was it, 30 or 40 frames a second. So then what it does, you just see, okay, good. Whew. Some of these boxes will attack you. They got big tongues and teeth, and they'll attack you. You don't want that. What it does is it takes and it duplicates, or assumes, I guess, the frame between two other frames. So you got one frame here, okay? In the center, it creates a frame between them. If you're a video editor, or if you've ever used, Premiere Pro, they have warp cut, I think is what they call it. I don't use it very often because it doesn't tend to work very well. But that's essentially like the warp, how do you call it? Transition or whatever. It's kind of like that, where you can take two clips that are unrelated, that look similar but are different clips, cuts. Like for instance, that was disgusting sounding. You've got an interview you're doing with somebody, and there we go. Whew. Get scared. It scared me one time when I opened one of these. You're doing an interview, somebody's sitting there, but you don't want it to look like there was an abrupt cut. You could put one of those cuts between it, and it would take the frames that aren't there between the two cuts, and it would make it look smooth, or at least as smooth as possible. That's kind of what this is doing, I think. It is taking the frames between every other frame. You can have a lower frame rate, and it will fix that. But it's not a magical fix in the sense, though, that you could do it with everything. I actually saw a developer that tried to use it in a fast-paced game on Twitter yesterday, and they said that... Ooh, there we go. They said that it made them really sick. So it's not designed for, like, fast-paced games, necessarily. At least it's not well enough yet to do that. But you can see 70 frames. Let me just turn it off again so you can see the difference really quickly. See, it's dropped drastically. So what this could do, though, for a lot of games, is potentially allow games not to hit that mark completely and be able to use application Space Warp to make it smooth and make it even better. Now, it's not going to work for every game, or maybe it will eventually as time goes on. It'll get better and better, I don't know. But as of right now, it works really well for games like this, where the combat is more like intentional, where it's not necessarily super fast-paced, and it works pretty well. Let's exit out here without application Space Warp. Is it on? No, it's not. Oh, okay. It's because we're not looking at that direction. That's where everything's going on. See it drop? We turn this way, it goes up, because there's not a lot going on in this section. Let's leave the bamboo forest really quickly. All right, super quick, I wanted to show you this area. This is the docks area, and there is a ton going on here. In fact, enough that the frame rate, even with application space warp, is still going to about 56. Now, to illustrate how much of a difference this makes, I'm going to go out over here really quickly. How much of a difference this makes. It's 52, 58, 60, 64, 68, 70. There we go. Smooth out a little bit. Now, to illustrate this really quickly, I want to show you that the reason this is doing this is because I'm assuming this area has just not been optimized as of yet. Ooh, that looks awesome, that ship. We're sitting at about 50, 48 frames. Now watch what happens. Let's take a little dude out. Watch what happens when I turn off application space warp. What happens? Change settings. We're going to take off app space warp. Close the menu. And then it trashes down to 23 frames a second, 24 frames. This is without application space warp, 27 frames, 23, 31, 40, 42, 41, 33. So it's dropping down to like 24 frames a second, 23, 24 frames a second. That's like cinema. That's what you watch a movie in. That's not what you want to play VR, and that'll make you massively sick. So I just wanted to illustrate that really quickly. A ton going on here, and it renders at anywhere between 24 and 45 frames a second, it looks like, on average. Really low in this area, and it actually, with application space warp, I'm starting to get a little bit queasy here, actually. With application space warp, it actually bumps it up by double, so you're getting closer to 50 to 60 sometimes. Depending on where you are. Wow, you're a creepy looking dude, aren't you? All right, let's put you away. There you go. There is some gameplay showing application space warp in use and not in use, and the frame rate tanking. Honestly, I actually got some nausea as I started to play through and experiment with it without having application space warp on. Down in that like 24, 34, even 40 something frames a second, it really messes with your head while you're trying to play. Not a good idea to try it, so I don't recommend that, but that is where application space warp comes into play. Hopefully, people will get their hands on this new ability and it'll start to change and make things even better. Now, in the video, I mentioned it's not meant for every single game, and that is definitely the case. Fast-paced games are probably not going to benefit from this because you're probably going to get smearing or some massive smoothing issues or something that just doesn't work properly, but this still has the potential to hopefully do a lot for certain games on the Quest 2. Already with just this early implementation, it's working well, and they're still working to make application space warp better, and I'm hoping we start to see bigger games using this and utilizing it just to allow for bigger, more open worlds, more going on in environments, and just an overall increase in quality for the Quest 2. It's not a magic ticket that's going to make everything better and give us an amazing result all of the time, but I think it's a step in a right direction that could really work for certain circumstances. Samurai Slaughterhouse was a lot of fun to check out, and if you want to check it out, I'll put a link down in the description for the Patreon. They're going to have a free download for a demo, a shorter demo than this, or if you want to check out this whole demo, you can actually join the Patreon. Patrons will get the access to an APK they can sideload on their Quest 2 so they can check out the game. Also, if you want to get some more information about application space warp, I'll put a link down in the description. I'm terrible at explaining stuff like this, technical jargon and all of that stuff. So if you want to know more about it and how it works, I'll put a link down in the description for you to check out as well. And if you want to get the most out of your Quest and your Quest 2, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down there and the bell icon for notifications. And you can check out even more of my videos right over there. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy questing.